If y'all could hear the way that Kenny just tried to open this fucking show.
Listen, you shut the fuck up.
We on about take 47 now, but he opened it. It's appropriate that he opened it this way, but it was kind of like an awkward phone call with like an estranged father.
Yes, it was.
How's it going?
Hey.
Just a real gentle like.
Hey, and then I tried one of those. Hey, y'alls.
Hey, how's it going? And it was even more insecure, actually.
And then at one point we started talking about the ice caps melting, and
it's true.
It's
Instead of talking about weather, I like to talk about fatalistic weather.
Oh,
when I make small talk with people, they're like, "Wow, it's nice weather today," and I'm like, yeah. In several decades, New York will be underwater. And then they just kind of look at me in the elevator, and then we move on.
That's what we're into. Mm-hmm. No, actually, now that you mentioned it, I had the craziest dream the other night. I had a dream that I was coming back from work and I was stuck in traffic, and the sun...
That doesn't sound unusual.
Yeah, well, no, it doesn't. But then the sun began to explode.
Huh.
Like, I was in my car jamming away, and then all of a sudden I look up and I just hear this like deafening just boom, this god-awful noise. And I look up and then the sun is just flaring up and exploding. And then everyone's just sitting in their car like, huh.
Was it like an expression of your rage? Did people like get out of their cars and start fucking?
No, it was just like,
everybody just kind of quietly waited.
We just kind of, I think a few people in my dream like got out of their cars and stood up and looked, and then somehow I had a newsreel in my car that was like, this just in, sun getting ready to explode.
Well, at least they got the broadcast out. I don't think that would have happened. I think solar flares fuck with like radio signals.
Well, I thought that too.
I mean, not that that's the most unrealistic thing happening in that dream, but
it concerned me. I woke up. You ever, when you wake up from your dreams and you have that like moment where you're trying to like convince yourself or bring yourself back to reality that it wasn't real and that you're okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's
always
tough.
Moment. One night I dreamt a dream that was just like different, like 1 to 2 second like snatches of people like just doing a mundane activity or like
you dreamt
sleeping.
Of snatches? What?
No.
Oh.
It was just like little short clips of people just doing really mundane things, and it was all different kinds of people, and I didn't recognize very many of them. And then I realized at the end of the dream, as I watched the mushroom cloud forming, that it was like people's last moments as we were annihilated, like shit. The whole fucking globe. And that was like my whole dream. And I woke up and I was like, how do I deal with that?
How do you deal with that? Oh my God.
You drink. No, I'm kidding. I don't advocate that.
Or do we?
We don't. We don't.
Oh.
No, we don't. Find a good program.
We don't advocate alcohol abuse to cover up your traumas.
No.
And speaking of traumas,
if you're going to abuse alcohol, you gotta just be doing that shit on your own. Like, it's got to be your decision, not like a traumatic sort of coping mechanism.
Listen, I don't care what you do.
You need to choose it outright. You need to choose alcoholism outright.
Listen, just don't drink and drive. I don't give a shit if you end up fucking drunk every night in your damn floor. Just don't drive.
In your damn floor.
In your damn floor. Just don't drive. Really quickly, we don't have any patrons this week to invoke, but I did want to say a very special message to Whitney Z.
Yes.
It is or will be her birthday on Saturday, and she is one of our Patreon supporters. She is our head witch in charge. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to give her a special little birthday shout out on this episode. So happy birthday to you, Whitney. Thank you for everything. We love you and hope you have the spookiest, creepiest, bestest birthday ever.
Seconded. Seconded.
Ditto is what she says.
Ditto. I do. No, we love you, Whitney. So, yes. Happy birth, girl.
Happy birth.
Happy birth. Have a cake. Have a drink. Have a time.
Have a time.
That's kind of like live, laugh, love.
Oh God. No,
Ooh,
we're not
do you see
gonna do
that picture that's going around of that girl who got that tattooed on her back in exactly the font of the wall claim?
That is either the worst decision ever or the greatest decision
No, it's the
ever.
worst.
Oh.
It's the worst. It's really bad. It looks just like a window clang is just smacked onto her back.
See, I wouldn't mind it if that was the intent. You know what I mean?
It's really big though. Like it's her whole fucking back. When I say she got it tattooed on her back, I mean she has a full back piece
Huh.
of live, laugh, love. Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay. Well,
Something
hey.
like live well, laughed off, often, love, with the lights off. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure.
Love with the lights off.
It's never been my style. I like to die, to weep, and hate.
Listen, like last episode, we're into horror, filth, and glamour. So if you want to get that tattooed on you, I'm into it.
No, that would be sick as fuck. Yeah, that would be really cool. The Dracula tattoos are cool.
Yeah. So,
Speaking of tattoos and bad decisions. Speaking of the things that cause us to have such.
well, listen, we have two special guests here today. Oh, wait, no, they're not here. They're not here. Huh. Wow.
We all know what's coming up.
Do we?
If you don't, maybe
What
check
is
out
it?
a calendar.
What's coming up?
Father's Day.
Oh,
It's June.
Yeah.
It's June. It's time to celebrate the daddies.
The daddies.
The daddies.
Daddies and zaddies and addies.
No, yeah, it's time to celebrate the daddy in your life, whether that's your biological daddy or a daddy that you were signed or a daddy that you chose out of a lineup of daddies.
It's the daddy issue, folks.
It is. It is the daddy issue. Yeah, so we're talking, I think you're going to kick us off with some horror daddies, right?
Yes.
Which is the best kind of daddy, honestly.
I mean, honestly, like I couldn't let a Father's Day go by without talking about some of our favorite daddies in horror. One of my personal favorites being a one Mr. Captain Spaulding from The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses. Shout out to Rob Zombie, who just released his trailer for 3 from Hell today, which is the third installment in that franchise. Mm-hmm. Looks really good. I'm totally a Sid Haig fan. I am so excited for that. I love Captain Spaulding. Captain Spaulding is your father. He's your clown. He's the one that's going to shoot whoever the fuck is trying to fuck with you, and I can appreciate that. Fuck you. Fuck your mama.
I appreciate a quick decision maker.
Uh-huh. And sells fried chicken on the side of the road. I mean, come on. Just
See,
perfect.
I couldn't do that because I would eat all my, like, fucking stock. Like, you know?
Uh-huh.
Like, I wouldn't make any money.
That is true. Another notable mention is a Mr. George Lutz from the Amityville Horror, 1979. We love us a good family man, although we would consider him a very bad man. Bad dad.
Bad daddy.
Bad daddy. Bad daddy, yes, as we all know. Another one is Daddy from The People Under the Stairs, 1991. We've talked about that on the show before. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not an actual father, but...
The spirit of the father.
Not an actual father, but does get referred to as Daddy a lot. I mean, a lot.
I mean, I think there's a fair amount of our listeners who could say that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is very true.
Myself among them. No, I'm kidding. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not.
Maybe.
Jack Torrance.
I was gonna say this is my segment. What the fuck you doing, jumping on my
I just
dick?
wanted to make sure that The Shining is represented here because we all know that you be trying to shit on The Shining.
I don't try to shit on The Shining. Who says I shit on The Shining? I don't shit on The Shining.
I don't know. I feel like you've said
only
it.
Shining I shit on is my
it.
Shiner, and that's. I don't know where that went.
That was a
but
lot.
That
That
was
was
a lot.
like a 40 stand-up routine. It kind of just took you away. Oh, my shining eye shit on's my Shiner. Shiner brand toilets. Get yours today. That's how we're going to start incorporating advertising. It's going to be just woven into the awkward jokes.
Yeah. Yes. So again, yes, Jack Torrance. I mean, who doesn't love Jack, you know?
To be honest with you, I feel like I kind of just would have gone with it, you know?
What do you mean go with it?
I mean, when he just kind of snaps and starts coming unraveled, I just feel like, I don't know. I always feel like I'm one tiny shred away from just complete insanity.
I was kind of always a little bit turned on by that all work and no play thing.
Yeah, I mean, for fucking sure. Like, I mean, I need you to not ask me because I'm trying to live.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe he just needed some.
I mean, I feel like he was pretty worked up. I feel like we could have calmed him down. Mm-hmm. Wendy.
Ash your cigarette, bitch.
Yes.
I still say that every time.
Troublesome.
Mm-hmm.
That cigarette gives me such anxiety.
But
of course it was designed to do that, obviously, because Stanley Kubrick's a very smart man.
it was designed to do that.
It was. It was designed to put you on edge.
Are we sure about that?
Yes.
I'm
sure.
Are we sure about that?
Mm-hmm. Everything in that movie is like intricately thought out, which is what makes it very good, but also what makes it very laborious when you're trying to sit through it.
Okay.
You sound very convinced.
Well, and another daddy that I would like to mention is one Mr. Freddy Krueger.
Ooh.
Yes.
I had forgotten about that one.
Yep. And the sequels, turns out he was a daddy.
You know what? I always know he was a daddy.
Who would have known? Smooth talker.
Smooth talker.
Oh, you definitely wouldn't want him fingering you, though.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't.
I don't. No. No.
No. I mean, because you're going to shred your shit up. Like, it's not going to be good. You're going to be fucking... No, it's not going to be cute.
You're right.
Put on some gloves. It'll be fine.
You're right.
The length is probably admirable. But you would need, like, some fucking Teflon-coated gloves to make sure that you're not in your OBGYN's emergency clinic 5 minutes later, babe.
Listen, who knows? He may tickle someone's fancy.
He might. I don't know. People into some weird shit nowadays. It's 2K19. We out here doing it.
Don't even. I've seen things. I've seen things that I will mention on this podcast. On this podcast, I will not mention it. So that should tell you something. Maybe on another episode.
People out here inserting whole Coke bottles into their asshole.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and No, I'm not gonna do it. No.
Don't cut my mic out.
No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna say what it is that I was gonna say. Not gonna do it. Not appropriate. We might have children listening.
We actually do.
I know.
Every now and then I think about that one listener who was like, I let me and my underage son listen to you, and I was like, babe, I don't know. Well, I mean, you're a parent. I'm not. Make your choices, but.
Well, even on our live later on, you know, that we had some listeners that commented that was like, hey, my son let me know that y'all were on that y'all had mentioned that I was all there. And I'm like, I went back to thinking, and I'm like, flashback to Katie pulling out condoms.
Well, you know what? He should know. Education. I'm just saying safe sex, people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You don't want to be a daddy. Maybe that would be your issue right now in life. So go ahead and practice that safe sex.
I have to say, I don't consider myself to have daddy issues per se. I mean, I have issues with my dad, but but all I have to say is my anger issues and fear of commitment and everything else comes from my mother.
I think I don't know. My therapist and I might have two different answers to this question.
Wait, who's your therapist? The cat sitting beside you?
No.
Oh.
No. She's just my part-time help.
Okay.
No, it was really interesting. Recently, so I finished one session. I've recently begun professional therapy, and at the end of my first appointment, I felt really great. And my therapist, she had a great tone. She was like, "Oh, this is great. We could even do every other week if you want." And I was like, "Nah, girl, we should be on that every week flow because I'm gonna need help." And she was like, "No, this is great. Like, you're doing great. We could do every other week if you want, or we can do every week if you want. Everything's fine." And then at the end of like my second session, she was like, "Let me make sure you have my email." So that you can just email me in between.
Did she pull a haunted heart? Was she like, you can email me?
She was like, "Let me make sure you have my email." And I was like, what did I say? Did I say too much?
Was it something?
Did I do something?
Did it something? Something
Yeah.
I said?
It's interesting. I think I'm doing great at therapy. I think I'm winning. She seems to laugh a lot, so
That might
I
not
think
be
that
a
means I'm
good
doing
thing.
great.
Because we use laughter as a defense mechanism here.
What?
Huh? What?
Moving on.
All right. Oh gosh, yes. So that's kind of just a few. I just wanted to shout out those few dads in horror. Just give them a little shout out. Great films. There are a few others that you could check out if you want to. There's also a really good. If you watch, I think it's on Netflix. It's called Holidays. It's a great horror film, and it's sort of like an anthology horror where it goes through each holiday.
Oh yeah.
And
I've
so
seen that.
yeah, they have a Father's Day segment on there that's really really interesting, and you should watch the whole film. But that's a great one to watch because it's about a daughter who lost her father went away, and apparently she was sent these tapes that was from him, and it was his voice directing her to go to a certain place. And so she's listening to these tapes while her father's voice is like telling her where to go. And in the meantime, like, you have all of these flashbacks of them when she was younger, and then you get to the place, and it's really like cryptic and weird, and you kind of it has a really weird ending to it. But Holidays is a good movie. You should check it out. Totally. Totally.
I don't think I remember that vignette.
Yeah, it was really good.
It's a great family friendly film to cuddle up on the couch with your dad and watch in honor of Father's Day. Seems like that might be great.
Yeah.
We have dads that listen to this show that would probably do that. We have cool
totally.
ass dads.
Yeah,
We have cool dads.
I think so.
So that's neat. Okay, well, I got to do a case because it's been a minute.
Has it been a minute?
And I'm itching for another
Well, baby,
case.
there's a cream for that.
It's a different doctor than a therapist, right?
Yes, it is, honey. Yes, it is.
No, I got to do a case. It's the Daddy Issues episode, so we have to talk about the time has come to discuss family annihilators.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Family annihilators are, I used to hate them.
But
I definitely hate them.
Do you love them?
Now I
used to
see their
hate them,
point.
but now...
But now I understand. I've got
But
to
now
no,
I
I'm kidding.
understand.
I used to really, really be averse to family annihilator cases, to stories, to the point that I wouldn't really look into them. I wouldn't really research them. Cases like, probably the most current, the most hip on trend.
On topic.
Case right now of a family annihilator is Chris Watts, right?
Oh, that piece of shit.
Everybody has seen footage of this fucking bastard. And his, he is the guy. What state was that? Denver?
Denver. It was in Denver.
Well, that's Colorado. That's the state. But it was in Denver, and
I just got that.
Yeah.
It was in Denver.
So in Denver, he murdered his 2 little girls and his pregnant wife and dumped them into an oil container. So that was really fucking horrible. But that's probably the one that is top of mind right now. But these fuckers are incredibly, they're so deeply unsettling because they are often, I mean, one of the biggest things about family annihilators is that they're often like they didn't have any hits on criminal justice, like on the criminal justice sector. They didn't have any issues with police. They didn't have any like mental health history. Nothing. It's like they were totally fucking normal
And out
or
of nowhere.
seemingly normal.
Yeah.
Right? And they were just living their fucking lives for all intents and
Well,
purposes. They were loving husbands and good fathers, and a lot of them have like high profile jobs, and publicly they're seen as very, very successful, when in actuality, they possess within them the ability to just completely fucking break with reality and decimate their entire family.
well, and you never know really what's going on behind closed doors either.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can put up that facade of like happy family, but do you really know? Because that's what was going on with that Watts case. Because like everybody thought they were the perfect, little family.
Yeah.
Facebook perfect, and then they had their
Well,
issues.
I think Shanann was a big part of that, because she did the Plexus. Was it Plexus that she did? She was like a health coach, kind of.
I'm not
for
sure.
like Plexus
I
or
can't
Beachbody or something like that. I think it was Plexus, and she would constantly post about their lives, and everything. Like you said, everybody thought everything was hunky dory, but this fucking dude was like clearly a raging monster.
This like most disturbing part of that was obviously like what happened, but like after the fact when they released the body cam footage from the police when they were like investigating like the day after of like where Shanann was and all of this other stuff, and like so you could physically see Chris like as he started to like mentally deteriorate, as like everyone around him started breaking down, like started figuring out what the fuck was going on. Like you could see it in his body language, like in the things that he would do and say, and then it was very unnerving to watch that body cam footage. You can find it on YouTube, but it's insane.
Yeah. And so while he is the most recent family annihilator that probably most folks who are involved in the true crime circle have at top of mind, he certainly is not alone. He comes from a long fucking history of family annihilators. There's a couple different types. So self-righteous family annihilators hold the mother responsible. They're usually men, is the other thing, which is why I'm talking about them on this episode. Important. They're usually men. Self-righteous family annihilators hold the mother responsible for the breakdown of the family and will often call her before him to explain what he's about to do as he's, harming the children. He'll kind of like, it's like a fucking sick-ass PowerPoint presentation, except it's the murder of an entire family. Disappointed family annihilators believe that their family has let them down and that the killing could be sparked by... a killing of that kind could be sparked by something like children choosing not to follow the family's religious customs, or kids who are maybe hitting the teenage years, having some turbulence, a little bit of trouble, maybe experimenting with drugs, or maybe being a little bit rebellious, and then the father not knowing how to handle that. We also have economic killers that see the family as a symbol of their own economic success. But if something happens, like an economic hardship, such as the father losing his job, or, the mom losing her job, or something happening economically, the reason if the family functions as a sort of economic indicator and then they experience an economic hardship, then the family no longer serves that function as that economic indicator of success.
Right.
And so away they go. And then we also have paranoid family annihilators who are motivated by a desire to protect their family from a perceived threat, such as having children taken away by social services. And there's a really good podcast on paranoid family annihilator whose name was Josh Powell, called Cold. The podcast is just called Cold. It's an excellent podcast. It's a really sad but really interesting case of Josh Powell, whose wife Susan Powell is still missing. She mysteriously went missing, and their 2 children had been seized by social services. And on a social services visit, the social worker got to the house where Josh Powell was staying. The kids ran up to see their dad. Their dad opened the door, and when the social worker was going to walk in behind the children, he slammed the door in the social worker's face. She immediately gets on the phone with 911, talks to one of the most irritating dispatchers I've ever heard in any kind of 911 call ever. And while she's on the phone with 911, Josh Powell's house explodes into flame.
Oh, shit.
Yes. He murdered both boys and then blew the house up, basically, with himself inside. So that would be an example of a paranoid family annihilator, because he viewed social services as a threat. If you want to look at it in that light, personally, I think he was a narcissist. And he saw the kids as an extension of himself and couldn't bear to have them taken away. But those are kind of the 4 different main branches. And of course, there's offshoots and outliers, as there always are. But those are kind of the 4 major groupings of family annihilators.
Mm-hmm. Which one are you?
It's like a
take the
BuzzFeed
BuzzFeed
quiz.
I was gonna say take the BuzzFeed quiz. No, don't do that.
What kind of family annihilator are you?
No, don't do that. If you do that, I'm pretty sure the FBI will probably not do anything.
Have you seen that thing on Instagram? Speaking of the FBI, taking a half a step out of this very heavy topic. Have you seen that thing on Instagram where you can look up the like keywords that advertisers use to advertise to you under your security settings?
No.
Oh my God. I did it actually for our podcast Instagram.
Did you really?
Would you like to hear?
Yeah, I would love to hear. I didn't know this was a thing.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, hang on, let me find it. I screenshot it for this purpose. Yes, so it's under the security section. It's called ads interests. And our ad interests are Brendan Burchard.
What? I don't know what.
I don't know. I'm suddenly worried that it's like some sort of like very famous like mass murderer that we fucking are forgetting about.
Oh shit. Okay.
Brendan Burchard. Brendan Burchard. Oh, he's just an author. New York Times bestselling author and the world's leading high performance coach. Maybe Instagram's trying to fucking send a message. Need some coaching. Need some life coaching.
Y'all need some coaching, is what Instagram is saying.
Number 2 interest is Scorpio astrology.
Wait, what? That doesn't even make any sense. I'm a Leo. You're a Virgo.
Birthday.
What?
Just birthday. Goth subculture. At least that one's on the head.
Fuck yeah, man.
Sonu Nagam. What? I don't know what that is. I'm sorry if it's something bad. I don't know what it
is. Okay. You've probably just summoned a demon.
Email us at thehauntedheartpodcast.com and let us know what Sonu Nagam is.
Email us at thehauntedheartpodcast@gmail.com.
What did I say?
Thehauntedheartpodcast.com.
That's it. Yes. You know, I said it. Magazines. Psychology.
Okay.
Tarot.
Okay.
Malayalam cinema. And Gerard Way.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. That's a good note to end on. Oh my God. Is that just for businesses?
No, it's everybody. So you can see it on your personal page too. My personal page, This is a rather expansive tangent, but
Whatever.
I'm
It
fucking
is
taking
the
it.
best. I'm pretty sure. Do they give a fuck? Probably not. They're like, thank God.
It's underneath settings, security, access data, and then ad interests. So my personal interests are Florida, guitar, XXL magazine.
Oh, shit. So now we know where the magazine comes from on our page.
I don't know what context that is.
XXL magazine.
Rhythm and blues music. Vertebrae. Just vertebrae. Fish. Just
Fish.
fish. No specific type. Quartz.
Okay.
Podcast.
Okay.
And I don't know where this last one came from, and I have a feeling that this is Danielle from our Murder Mod Squad coming for me. But the last one listed is Jason Voorhees.
That's
So I don't really know what that's
crazy.
about.
Well, I'm gonna give you mine. Mine is Kickstarter. RuPaul's Drag
Struggles.
Race.
Okay, that's accurate.
Odin.
Odin? Just
Odin.
the Norse god?
Yes.
Perfect. Good. They're going to advertise Odin to you.
Superstition.
Okay. Suspicious.
Suspicious.
That's
Oil painting.
Okay.
Disneyland. That's random.
That is.
House, the TV series.
Have you even watched House?
Maybe like once, like
Have you
8
even
years
seen
ago.
it? That's weird.
Nev Cosmetics.
Ain't heard of her.
Never and never have. Action figure. They're appealing to my gay
Only
side,
one.
I see.
Only one.
And Cannes Film Festival.
Okay.
That's interesting. So yeah, let us know what your ad interests are.
Yeah. That was an interesting break. I like how we kind of broke that up a little bit.
That's fine.
Broke that up a little bit. Well,
Break it up.
now we're going to talk about a man who murdered his entire family.
Aw, okay.
So
In
I hope
true
you
Haunted
enjoyed
Heart
that
fashion.
nice break. We're talking about Robert William Fisher, people. Robert
Fisher.
William Fisher. And you know he's a bad motherfucker because he's got 3 names. This piece of shit.
Bob
right here.
William Fisher.
Bob. Bobby.
I'm Bob Fisher.
I bet
I'm
that
Bob
would make
Fisher.
him so mad. Actually, his nickname was Bobby.
Well, yeah,
Damn.
duh, because
And-
it's Robert.
Yeah. Maybe.
Most people whose name is Robert go by Bob.
Do they?
Yeah.
I feel like I would insist on not.
They do. Most people would say Robert. They go by Bob
Hmm.
or Bobby. Yeah,
I don't know about that.
yeah. So what did Mr. Fisher do?
So Robert William Fisher was born April 13th, 1961. He was born in Brooklyn, in New York, to his father, whose name was William Fisher.
Ah,
So Robert William, the son of William. And William Fisher was a banker who was married to a nice lady named Jan Howell. I hope
Side
she was
note,
a nice lady. We don't really know
most
much
people
about
named William go by Bill.
her. Oh. Wild Bill. We had a substitute in high school, Kenny and I, who unironically called himself Wild Bill. And that's true.
That is true.
He was pretty
He
funny.
was pretty wild.
He was pretty funny, but I think he looked at female students.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think that happened for sure. Like, he was funny, and then like he would look at somebody's ass, and I was like, "That's a child's ass. You're not allowed. You can't do that."
No.
Anyway, shout out to Wild Bill if you're still with us. Don't look at children. So, Robert William Fisher was born into this family. He had 2 sisters, and he attended Sahuaro High School in Tucson. And his parents had a relatively contentious marriage. They divorced in 1976 when he was about 15. And a lot of people, you know, I'm a child of divorce.
Yes, we are.
But my parents got divorced when I was 7, and I was always told, I'm not sure if this was like something real that like actually is a real thing, or if they just told me this to make me fucking feel better, because I was fucking sad about my family being destroyed. But, well, not destroyed, but just changed.
Just jilted forever and all eternity.
They say it's harder for kids when you're older because there's like more of a story of your parents being together, I guess. Maybe you're not as pliable, like your memory isn't as pliable. But I'm imagining that since he was 15 when his parents got divorced, that's a long time to have your parents be together, and I imagine that it was very difficult to adjust to them being split up at that point.
Is that
right?
why I'm
'Cause it's
so
kinda
cold-hearted? Because my parents divorced like 9 months after I was born.
I mean, honestly, that might be. There wasn't necessarily a big change that happened from married to divorced.
Yeah.
Like for your whole life, it was just things the way that they were.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a big change shifted everything around. So it probably is a different experience.
Probably a different kind. Things tend to grow and seethe in those
You've
situations.
always been abandoned
I feel
instead of like yeah.
As opposed to just a sudden break in reality.
Yeah.
You plant a seed that just grows eternally.
Hopefully, it is a banana seed because bananas are not doing so well. And we can only eat one variety. But there's no such thing as organic bananas.
Well, are plantains okay though?
Plantains are fine.
Okay, cool.
But there's no such thing as organic bananas anymore. They don't grow anymore. They're all GMO. Look it up.
All right.
It's fucking real.
I'll still eat it.
So anyway, this Fisher's parents divorced in 1976 when he was 15. According to friends and relatives, Fisher took the divorce very hard. It was extremely difficult for him to adjust, and it had a long-lasting effect on him. He still talked about the split between his parents with his coworkers as an adult, like that he worked with at the Mayo Clinic Hospital. So clearly it was something that stayed with him his whole life. He confided to one worker at the Mayo Clinic Hospital that his life could have been different if his mother hadn't left the family.
I'm going to tell you what. You know what he is? He's one of those damn psychic vampires.
Yeah.
He's one of those motherfuckers that just fucking brings you down at work. And it's like, hey, what's up, Bob? And he's like, oh, well.
And you know when
I'd
you
be
hear
okay
that fucking sigh.
I mean.
Hey, how are you? And you just hear. And
Well,
what I do? Redirect. Gotta go.
Well, my father, he's getting his new place now that he's... Bob, didn't your parents divorce 20 years ago? I mean, yeah, but it still hurts.
Nope. Can't deal with it. I just gotta redirect.
Me.
I know it. I'll spot it a mile away.
Stirring my coffee and like, well, good luck with that.
Well, have a good
I tend
one.
to just walk away. Like, no shit. Whenever someone's talking to me at work and I just get fucking annoyed and they're a coworker, I literally just turn around and walk away.
That's amazing. I do that in the middle of conversations too.
Yeah, I know. She's done it in the middle of this fucking podcast before too.
For fucking sure. Sometimes you gotta just have a minute. So Robert Fisher made the decision as a young man to go into the Navy. He was a Navy veteran. He married Mary Cooper. We don't know that much about his time in the Navy. I kind of looked into it, but it didn't seem like it was all that interesting. But once out of the Navy, he married Mary Cooper in 1987. He worked as a surgical catheter technician, a respiratory therapist, and a firefighter. And he was an avid outdoorsman, hunter, and fisherman. So he seemed to be a really active guy. He had some skilled labor abilities. I don't know what my fucking word is that I'm trying to say. He had some technical trades.
He seems like he would be that well-rounded dad.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a firefighter and I can also like fix your shit and do things and like also, yeah.
I can fix your surgical catheters. I don't know that I need you to do that. I've met a lot of firefighters, not the most delicate folk. But despite the outward appearance of being, fairly successful, Fisher was described as a cruel and distant control freak of a father who was awkward with his children. but tried to hold on to an image as a devoted family man. His mother-in-law, Jenny Cooper, actually told investigators that after, everything took place, she said that Fisher didn't really socialize often with the family because he was afraid of getting too close to people and losing them. So he did have that abandonment issue. Only in his case, interestingly, it was because his mother had left him. He viewed it as his mother having left in the divorce. So Fisher's mother told investigators, when people started looking into this dude's life, she said that she had always been a yes sir type of wife. Meaning she never said no to her husband. She never stood up to him. She kind of just took it and took it and took it until she couldn't take it anymore. And she said, fucking bye.
Bye.
Which props to her, because sometimes you got to just say fucking bye. She also said that she saw really similar dynamics in her son's marriage to his wife, Mary. That, she kind of saw Mary as not really standing up to him that much and kind of going along with whatever he said. And not really putting up too much of a fuss. And she had kind of tried to talk with Mary about that because she was, that she saw that pattern playing out in their marriage, and obviously that concerned her because she knew how her own had turned out. And another friend, close friend of the Fisher family, said kind of the same thing, that Robert, William Fisher's marriage to Mary really closely resembled his father's marriage to his mother when they were married. And clearly the similarities didn't necessarily end there. It was well known that Fisher and his wife had marital troubles. They had been active members of the Scottsdale Baptist Church.
Always a church.
Fisher had been part of the men's ministry, but he had kind of started to withdraw from the church's activities for the past couple months. In 1998, Mary and Robert went to the church's senior pastor for marital counseling. And Fisher also confessed to his coworkers, and I don't know if he confessed this to the priest or not, or to the pastor, but he confessed to his coworkers that he had had a one-night affair with a prostitute that he met in a massage parlor.
Okay. Again, me in the break room. Uh-huh.
Okay. Yep.
Well,
I gotta go, Bobby.
Hey, Bob. All right. So
hey, I'm gonna have to catch up with you later. I'm really busy.
Yeah.
I just gotta place all these catheters.
I got a 5:30 catheter appointment I've got to go to right now. Someone needs a catheter. So I gotta.
It's me. I'm the one. I gotta go.
Yeah, I've got to install my own catheter.
Bye. Yeah. So interestingly, he was worried that his wife might find out that this one night affair with this prostitute that he met in the massage parlor was the cause of a urinary tract infection that had left him sick for several days in December 2000.
Sex worker.
You can call her a prostitute, you can call her a sex worker, but she need to wash her puss, because you can't be out here giving people urinary tract infections. We got husbands. I'm just kidding.
JK.
I'm just kidding. Let's make the world safer for sex workers, please. Thank you. So Fisher eventually told a hunting mate that he was going through this, really difficult time with his marriage, and he's kind of bitching to all the coworkers. And if you've ever had a friend who is going through a divorce, you know what this is all about. Because my God, people will talk your fucking ear off.
Yeah, that's true.
It is hard, and change is hard, and I don't fucking blame them, man. It's really hard to go through change.
Yeah. Why do you think we're here with you all right now?
Change is hard. No, so we're here because we love you, and we would never divorce you. So after this really contentious period where he's bitching about his wife and they are having all these problems and he's getting UTIs from sex workers that he meets in massage parlors, all of a sudden he just kind of changes his tune. And he starts talking with his hunting buddies about renewing his commitment to his faith and his marriage because he, quote, could not live without his family.
See, now I know this fucker.
Yeah.
I know this fucker. Now I know him.
Now you recognize him?
Now I recognize him. Now I know him. Okay, continue.
Yes. So he is talking about, he can't live without his family. And of course, looking back, people have kind of speculated that maybe that was him talking about considering suicide over divorce. According to psychologists, an intense fear of loss, like the kind that Fisher appeared to be exhibiting, is not unusual for an individual who was traumatized by divorce while an adolescent. In adolescence?
In adolescence,
Yes,
yes.
the one. Right.
While being an
You shouldn't be in an adolescent. Never. Never. Never be in an adolescent. You can be in adolescence at some point in your life. But at no point in your life should you be in an adolescent.
Okay, Katie.
I just want to make it clear.
Katie. Please
Is it
continue.
clear?
It's clear. It's clear, trust me, like Windex.
So while Robert Fisher appears to have kind of made an abrupt 180 on his marital issues in the weeks before the incident, Mary Fisher started talking to her friends and telling them that she had finally made up her mind to divorce her husband. And there were more and more frequent fights. Sometimes the neighbors would hear some of those fights. And on one particular morning, I think it was an evening. So it was like 10:30 at night on April 9th. A neighbor of the Fisher family said that they heard a really loud argument between the couple, unusually loud. And then 10 hours later, the house blew up in an explosion.
What's with all this blowing up of houses? How do you blow up a house?
So
I've tried. I can't get it to work.
So on the morning of April 10th, 2001, Mary Fisher was shot in the back of the head, and her children's throats were slashed ear to ear in the hours before their home exploded. The children's names were Brittany Fisher and Robert Bobby William Fisher Jr. Firefighters were immediately alerted due to the fact that a fucking house exploded.
I was going to say.
They were told that it may have been a natural gas explosion, and that, of course, resulted in a fire. The explosion ripped through the ranch-style house. It was in the 2000 block of North 74th Place in Scottsdale. And the explosion took place at about 8:42 a.m. The blast appeared to be centered in the living room, and subsequently the fire burned the house into complete rubble. And they said that the initial explosion, there's such a thing. I forget what case I was researching when I found out that this existed because it sounded really fucking cool. It's not a fire marshal, but it's like a fire. What's it called? It's like a fire forensics type person who.
Oh, where they have to see how the fire started.
Yes, and their job is to go in and see was
if
this
there was
fire
an
started
accelerant
intentionally?
or something.
Yeah. And they're really, really smart. They can kind of there's a really detailed science to it. It's not necessarily just finding out, was it an intentional fire or was it not? It's also kind of studying the patterns of it. It's very cool. When I first read about it, I was like, I'm going to do this. But then it was you have to be a firefighter and do physical labor. And I was like,
and she's like, I'm not going to do that.
Fuck that. I was like, I will not do that. I will support those who do. Support
she
your
sat down real quick.
Fire and EMS teams. So, of course, they go in and they're looking at it, and they basically figure out that the fire was started by a gas line that had been pulled out of the back of the home's furnace. And the accumulating gas was later ignited by an ignition source, which was potentially the pilot light on the water heater. There was another speculation that there was a candle that was lit, that had been lit and burned down. I don't fully understand it because, like I said, it's super smart stuff. But basically, there was a candle that was lit that would burn down to a certain point where it would ignite, like the gas would leak out slowly, and then eventually it would ignite. And they had speculated that maybe like he lit that, like he killed everybody and then he lit that candle, knowing that it would take a couple hours for the gas to leak out. Because again, you're dealing with somebody who was a firefighter.
Right.
And you're dealing with somebody who, has technical knowledge. He's not an idiot. So they had kind of speculated that maybe that was part of it too. That maybe that could have been another way that the fire was started. Regardless, it was a huge fire. It was 20 feet high. And the Rural Metropolitan Fire Department firefighters were on the scene within minutes, and they were able to keep the fire from spreading to neighboring houses. Because again, when you have an issue like this in suburbia, one of the very real possibilities is that the shit can spread, and then you have like multiple houses on fucking fire. So the department did a good job of keeping it contained, but the house did burn to rubble. Later, burned bodies of a woman and 2 children were found lying in the remains of the house, and they were formally identified as Mary Fisher, age 38, and her 2 children, Brittany Fisher, age 12, and Robert Bobby William Fisher, Jr., age 10. Investigators considered that he was kind of the main suspect from the very beginning. And they kind of figured that he murdered his family because he felt really threatened with his wife's intent to divorce him. And rather than go through a divorce like he had seen, his parents go through, he vowed that his marriage would never dissolve.
No, it would just explode.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Dumbass.
Yeah. So... on April 14th, Robert William Fisher, who disappeared completely at the time of the murders, was named an official and to date the only suspect in this case. When the Arizona Department of Public Safety officers were instructed to issue a statewide bulletin to arrest him. So from Jump Street, these guys know this is their guy. They didn't really even look at anybody else. It wasn't necessarily that there were people out there that they didn't pay attention to that they should have. It was pretty cut and dry. This guy seemed like he had a mouth on him. So it was pretty clear the picture that was painted.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
On April 20th, 2011, the last physical evidence of Fisher's whereabouts surfaced when police found his Toyota 4Runner and his dog, whose name was Blue, in Tonto National Forest, which was about 100 miles north of Scottsdale. So when they found the 4Runner and the dog, they did a complete search of like the vehicle and the surrounding area that the vehicle was in. But some people, caving experts, pointed to the fact that there's a pretty intricate cave system that's in that area that they didn't search very thoroughly. So that has been speculated that perhaps that's what happened because they didn't catch this guy.
So he hasn't been caught?
He's never been caught.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
So, but they're saying that he could have went down into the caves?
Yes. So the area that the vehicle was in.
So who's he going to complain to in the caves?
Shut up. Yeah, the Tonto National Forest, apparently it's near the town of Young, Arizona. The police searched for Fisher like around the area where the car was, but apparently they didn't search the caves sufficiently. And a couple different professional cavers came out and said that, maybe he used the caves as a hiding place before he either escaped or killed himself or died from low oxygen levels in the caves, because apparently it's really easy to get lost in there too. So they really honestly don't know. And they've kept this guy. He's the 475th fugitive to be placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, which I thought was just 10 people because I'm an idiot. And I don't know how that works.
It's like 10,
Like, how could there
5.
be 475 though? It's fine.
Well, okay, so, but did they ever question like why he left like the dog behind? Like, I'm just
They
confused
didn't.
as to why.
They're not really.
Why did he drop everything?
Well, probably because he's not trying to go. He's not trying to be responsible for killing his entire freaking family.
Well, I mean, I know that, but what I'm saying is that like it just seems random. Like I'm gonna go and just drop the car and the dog off.
Not necessarily though,
somewhere.
because you need to shed. Like if something like that happens, you need to shed your identity. Like you got to get out of Dodge. We got to get rid of this fucking car. We got to get rid of this fucking dog. We got to get rid of every single. We got to gain 50 pounds. Like somebody called Domino's. We have to make a severe life
If you
change.
call Domino's, can you deliver to this fucking cave, please?
See, unfortunately, that would work in our eventually when we need to shed our lives and leave our family and loved ones behind. That's going to bite us in the ass because we're not going to be able to gain 50 pounds to not look like ourselves. We're going to have to lose 50 pounds.
No, we'll get caught because they'll just the FBI will just keep a tab on our Domino's order.
We're going to have to join a fucking Orange Theory and never order the Haunted Heart special again.
Oh God, no!
It's not going to be good.
I really
more
hope. No, I'm gonna tell you
pineapples
what.
and
I
black
hope
olives.
that motherfucker went down into the caves, thought he was gonna hide for a minute, got himself lost.
Yeah.
And fucking got himself lost down in the fucking caves and fucking like the Descent style.
Yeah, I was going to
and some
say, and all of a
fucking-
sudden the descent just starts and he's like consumed by demons.
He's fucking consumed by
Horrible cave
cave-dwelling
demons.
fucking nocturnal creatures, slowly and painfully.
We should put that on the list of possibilities that maybe happen. That one.
I feel like that's what happened. That's what happened.
hoping.
That's what happened, y'all. That's what happened. Closed book. Case is closed. I will contact the FBI immediately.
So Fisher was also listed on America's Most Wanted on their Dirty Dozen list as some of the show's most notorious fugitives, and he was also profiled on The Hunt with John Walsh. The FBI is still offering a reward of up to $100,000 for any information that leads to his capture. And as of April 2003, the FBI said they had received hundreds and hundreds of leads, but unfortunately, none of the reported sightings of Fisher have ever been considered conclusive.
I'm gonna tell you what. The Dirty Dozen list sounds like something a cam girl would have on a show.
Unfortunately, it's just pieces of shit. It's not exciting cam girl tricks.
Welcome to Cammy's Dirty Dozen.
Yeah, so that they've kept, the FBI has kept up with the case. Actually, in April 2016, FBI officials, in combination with Scottsdale Police, actually released new age-enhanced photos of Fisher during a news conference on the 15th anniversary of the murder. So they are still at it. They're still soliciting information. They're still offering a reward. And who knows? Maybe one day they'll find him.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe he's at another Mayo Clinic.
That is the story of Robert William Fisher.
Wow. That was interesting because typically when doing cases, there's, they either like find the guy or, they find the guy or he's dead or something. So I really wasn't expecting it to be like an open-ended case.
Well, I don't like to do the open-ended ones just because like closure's fun for everybody, and it's easier to tell the story of a case when there's closure, and you can be like, and then they got the motherfucker, fuck him. But like, it doesn't always work that way in real life, and in reality there's tons of cases that are left open-ended, and there's tons of situations where the perpetrator got off. And there's even cases where, I say we like I'm a member of the police department or an investigator.
Where we catch them fuckers.
No, but there are lots of cases where, if you talk to investigators, if you talk to detectives, they know who their perp is and they just can't get enough evidence to prove it. So they can't risk making an arrest and, letting the guy off. So, they have to wait and bide their time. And that is very much excruciating, but it is part of true crime. There's a ton of cases where it's just left like this one.
Yeah.
So generally, I like to give people closure, but you know what? You don't always get what you
Not
want.
today. Not today, folks. We don't have closure on this Daddy Issues episode. Huh. Thematic. Anyway, I kind of wanted to lead. I kind of wanted to lead us down the path of darkness. No, I wanted to leave us with a fun little creepypasta, just to sort of, you know, ease us up from the, the heavy hitting story that Katie has provided.
It's a palate cleanser.
It is a palate
It's
cleanser.
a dessert pasta.
So
It's got a
I'm gonna read
sorbet
this.
type sauce.
I'm gonna need for you to control yourself on this one, though, Katie. Okay.
Okay. I'm
need for you to
excited.
control yourself. This creepypasta is called Father's Day.
Okay. I
Howard
understand why
Simpkin.
you've chosen it.
God damn it. See, here we go. Howard Simpkin was a quiet man, a nice man. Everybody said so. Who could have foreseen the future? Howard grew up in the small town of Dakenby, the son of average parents of average wealth. In fact, everything about Howard's life was decidedly average. Even his job, an accountant. He was a stand-up comedian's wet dream. As a young man, Howard found it difficult mixing with others of his age and therefore became a bit of a loner. His life, like his balance sheets, calculated to boredom. Definitely into the minus column. That was until July of the summer of 1975, when he met Brenda, and the balance of his life moved firmly into the plus column.
You know, that's what people always say when they meet their great love.
I think so. It's the plus
The balance
column.
has moved to the plus column.
He fell in love with her immediately. However, Howard held no hope of Brenda feeling the same way about him. How could she? Brenda, to look at, was nothing special.
Damn. And they say love is blind.
Most people wouldn't have given her a second glance. But to Howard, she was the air that he breathed, the sun that warmed him. One day, summoning all the courage he possessed, he asked Brenda out, and to his amazement, she agreed. Howard spent the rest of the day walking on air. To think that a beautiful woman like Brenda had agreed to go out with a nobody like him. His parents were kind people, his parents, I'm going to correct this for the writer, his
Don't
parents who were the kind of people, took an instant dislike to Brenda right from the start, which Howard couldn't understand, as he was blinded by love and couldn't see no wrong in her.
Couldn't see no wrong in her?
He couldn't see no wrong in her.
Couldn't see no wrong in her.
Howard was not a wealthy man. Remember, he's average, folks. He's average.
It sounds like everybody in this damn story is
honestly.
average.
But had saved most of his money up till now, as his lifestyle had been meager. This changed. In the coming months, he started spending with vigor. His savings diminished with every additional gift he bought for Brenda. The smile on her face is worth all that I own, he would tell others. However, Howard was aware of the gossip mongers, the troublemakers who had nothing to do but spread their vicious rumors. They would say that Brenda was only with him for what she could get, that she was nothing but a gold digger. Shortly after, his father died. Howard asked Brenda to marry him, but she said it was too soon, that she wasn't ready. Months after his father's death, his mother passed away. Too. As if her need She died too. As if her need to be reunited with her husband outweighed her need for life. Howard was left everything. The house, the car, and a sizable chunk of money from life insurance policies. These gains did nothing to ease his loss. He felt like his life was rapidly being drawn downwards back to the minus column.
I feel like whoever wrote this doesn't know anything about accounting.
I feel like they just looked at
I
an
don't think
Excel
that's a
spreadsheet
thing.
and was like, oh, this is accounting. Having nothing to lose except for rejection, he plucked up the courage to ask Brenda to be his wife. This time, to his overwhelming joy, she accepted. Oh! So we're going to accept now that we've done got that insurance money. All right.
Don't judge Brenda. She average. She's
Suspicious.
trying to get by.
That's all I'm saying. Suspicious. It seemed everyone knew what was going on except poor old Howard. The gravy train had pulled up and good old Brenda was determined to grab a first-class seat up front. For Howard, the wedding was one of the happiest days of his life. And Brenda, well, Brenda turned up. For the first year of their marriage, everything seemed to be good. Howard still worshipped her and showered her with gifts. Then it happened. Brenda became pregnant. Howard was thrilled to bits. Brenda was not. Talk of abortion from Brenda's lips, but for the first time in their relationship, Howard put his foot down. And 8 months later, at 2:32 a.m., an 8-pound, 7-ounce baby girl was born. Emma Louise Simpkin, Howard's pride and joy. To Howard, Emma was a blessing. To Brenda, she was a rival. A rival for Howard's affections and, more importantly, his gifts. Things between Howard and Brenda went steadily downhill from the birth of their daughter. Brenda showed little to no interest in Emma and spent more and more time going out for various reasons. She had disclosed to Howard before they married that both her parents were dead and that she had no family to speak of. Yet, all of a sudden, she had sick relatives all over the country that she just had to visit. Howard had also noticed Brenda was turning more heads lately, in part due to the fine clothes and expensive makeovers he had paid for from that insurance money.
Is this just the story of, like, people's lives? Like, is this just somebody's life story? I'm not really getting the creepypasta element. It just kind of sounds sad.
Hold on. Slowly, he began to take over the role of mother as well as that of provider, and due to his very understanding boss, he was able to do more and more of his own work from home in order to spend as much time as he could with his daughter. Over time, as Howard's love for his daughter grew, so did his hatred for Brenda. He wasn't stupid. He knew what she got up to on her little trips. He smelt the aftershave on her clothes. He noticed the smug look on her heavily made-up face, the fucking whore! If it wasn't for Emma, his life would have been unbearable. Every year on Father's Day, Howard would stand Emma against the kitchen door and measure her height, making up a poem as he did and singing it to her. Emma always laughed and hugged her father, while her mother would stand and sneer, sneering bitch, assuming, of course, that she was around that particular day. It was on one of these occasions that things changed. Emma was 9 and Howard had just measured her. Quiet Emma, so good, so sweet, 4'2" from head to feet, he sang. Emma, as usual, hugged her father and laughed. Brenda, on the other hand, appeared in the doorway, 2 suitcases by her side, the familiar sneer upon her face. She told him he was pathetic and that she was leaving him. She told him a few home truths that anybody in the town could have told him years ago. Brenda's leaving made no difference to Howard, as he had spent the best part of the last 7 years hating the sight of her anyway, and from that day forward, she was referred to only as Burn in Hell Brenda.
I appreciate the alliteration.
For years after her departure, everything was great. Emma was doing really well at school and had became Howard's life. He worshipped her and showered her with love and gifts, as he had once done with Burn in Hell Brenda. Then things gradually started to change when Emma hit her teens. She became unruly and disobedient. She began to run around with what he had decided were a bad crowd. He could not believe it was Emma's fault, not even when he had visits from the police about her shoplifting. He decided it must be something he was doing wrong. He could never think ill of his precious Emma. She would scream obscenities at him and show him the finger, but he still thought it was his doing. Years before, she was grateful for the gifts he gave her. Now she expected things, throwing temper tantrums until she got what she wanted. As time passed, things just became steadily worse and worse, and Howard yearned for the days when his daughter would hug him and laugh with him like she did every Father's Day. Time passed, and he began to realize he could no longer blame others, not even himself, for Emma's behavior. It was obvious that Emma was becoming more like her mother. Burn in hell, Brenda! A clone of the woman he'd grown to despise, and one bitch was enough. Howard could not suffer another, certainly not his precious daughter Emma. So here he was. Another year had passed around, and again it was Father's Day. Howard checked the temperature of the water in the bowl, and draping the flannel over the edge, picked it up. Making his way upstairs, he shouldered open the door to Emma's room, walked over to the chair next to the bed, and sat down. After wetting and wringing out the flannel, Howard began to gently bathe the stumps just below the knees where Emma's legs had once been, the legs that ran around with a bad crowd. He then began to bathe the stumps just below the elbows, where the arms and hands had been, the hands that had given him the finger. As he bathed her, he looked into Emma's eyes to see if there was any gratitude there. Her eyes had become a lot more expressive since the removal of her tongue. I bet. The tongue that had screamed profanities at him. All Howard saw were the cold eyes of "Burn in hell, Brenda!" staring back at him sneerfully. Draping the flannel over the bowl, Howard stood up and, reaching into his pocket, withdrew a tape measure. Bending over Emma's dismembered torso, he began to measure her, smiled, straightened up, and began to sing, "Daddy's little sugar lump, 4'2" from head to stump. At this point, Howard was sure he saw laughter in Emma's eyes. The hug was missing, but he thought, you can't have everything. The end.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a long lead in to a stump torso.
To a stump torso. You know what? Oh. I think so. But listen, it says you can't have everything. So you can't have it short and sweet always.
It's kind of ironic.
Mm-hmm. So that's it for our episode, folks.
That's it. That's Father's Day.
That is Father's Day.
That's Father's Day. Look, if you have a father in your life who you care about, I don't want you to be paranoid on Father's Day. I don't want you to worry that it's going to turn you into a stump-based person. I don't really know. No, say if you have a dad in your life who you care about, who does right by you, who doesn't blow your house up, who doesn't turn you into a stump, say thanks, man. Dads are cool. Whether it's your biological dad, your non-biological dad, or your daddy.
Yeah.
Just be appreciative of them this Father's Day and tell them we said Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
How about?
Yeah. You do that.
How about? And if you want to stay up to date with us on the socials, we just had a Rainbow Rave Queer AF Facebook Live on our Facebook group. If you search the Haunted Heart podcast, you can find our page there. If you like it, you can see our Big Gay Live. You can also join our Facebook group at the Haunted Heart podcast. If you search Haunted Heart podcast, the page will come up, the group will come up. You can request to join. We will approve you unless you are a stump creating psychopath from a creepypasta. Then we have a different review process for you. Instagram, we are at the Haunted Heart Podcast. Twitter, we are at the Haunted Heart, and you can find us anytime at thehauntedheart.com. If you have any stories that you would like for us to cover, you can email them to us at thehauntedheartpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out our Patreon, where we have all kinds of bonus content and a platform for you to support the show if you like what we're doing and you want to help us do more of it. Yeah. And that's patreon.com/thehauntedheart.
The Haunted Heart.
And I think that's all the bullshits.
I believe so.
I think it's time for you to take us out, Zaddy.
Ooh, all right. All right, Mama. Okay. You guys know what you got to do.
You got to thank the daddies in your life. And until next time,
you got to Stay spooky.